Welcome back. An awful lot of politics this morning. I think febrile is the word that we use on days like this. We're talking to the Lib Dems next. Daisy Cooper, the Deputy Leader, is here. You're doing a big speech at 9:45, of course, which we'll be taking on the show as well. But first, I just want to get your reaction to our lead news this morning. I mean, it is all kicking off in the Labour Party. It feels like we've got this briefing war and Wes Streeting, the House Secretary, coming out on this programme this morning to deny that he's part of the coup.
Well, I think I've got very mixed feelings. I mean, on the one hand, I think all of us outside the Labour Party are incredibly frustrated that this government just hasn't delivered the change that they promised. And it feels as though the public's frustration is now to being internalised within the Labour Party. So I guess there's a little bit of hope. I'm ever the optimist, a little bit of hope that they finally get it. They finally realise how frustrated everybody is. On the other hand, we are 2 weeks out from a budget, and these kind of stories are destabilising. They're destabilising for the public, they're destabilising for the markets, they're destabilising for investors, whether domestic or international. And so the timing of this could be very damaging.
How happy are you with Ed Davey's leadership?
Oh, Ed is the most successful party leader we've ever had in our party's history. And if you look at the mess in the Labour Party and the Conservative Party, we are the most united party in Parliament.
Part of the reason I ask this is because, and I know why you're saying the most successful leader, because you've got all those MPs at the election, right? And I know you're going to say that that's the poll that matters. But the polling has shown that you're under a bit of pressure, not least from the Green Party. So just looking at Reform's latest tracker, Reform up top, then you've got Labour and the Conservatives, Greens on 15, Lib Dems on 14. So you've been leapfrogged.
So look, the polls that really matter are the ones when people
I knew you were going to say that.
But it's true, right? We live in a democracy. Elections really matter. And you look at some of the recent by-elections recently, we are the party that is winning in the by-elections. We're winning seats off every other political party. We're doing really, really well on the ground in our seats where our campaigners are really active, and we're really pleased with that.
Do you think you need to be a bit more muscular, though? You know, you've got Zach Polanski, who was going out there, who was, grabbing headlines, and it feels sometimes that the Lib Dems are a little bit kind of cautious, maybe?
Well, look, Ed Davey has been pretty punchy on the BBC stories in the last couple of days, calling for Robbie Gibb to be chucked out, basically, by the Secretary of State. It's Ed that has been leading our calls calling our calls on the government to stand up and be stronger when dealing with Donald Trump. He was the first party leader in the last Parliament to call for a windfall tax. So, we are being pretty punchy as a party. And, of course, I'm sure you'll come on to our announcements today.
I definitely, I absolutely will. But just, you mentioned Trump, so I just did want to ask a bit about the BBC as well. Do you think the BBC is institutionally biased?
I think the BBC has made some really big mistakes in a number of stories. I think their editorial decisions have been pretty sloppy, and they've been incredibly slow to either apologise or correct those mistakes. But I think the way, as a Liberal Democrat, when I criticise the BBC, it's because I want it to succeed. I think it is really important that in an era of disinformation and misinformation, that we have a public broadcaster owned by the British people, for the British people, that can be a trusted news source. So I want the BBC to succeed. What I'm worried about is that I think some people are trying to weaponise these mistakes. So I do think mistakes have been made, but I think some people are trying to weaponise these mistakes, and the timing of this does seem pretty dodgy. And I think those people who criticise the BBC because they want to defund it, because they want to replace the BBC with a kind of American Fox-style news programme, I think really don't have British interests at heart. So we'll fight people who have those views.
Who are you talking about then?
Well, I think there are a number of people. I mean, obviously, Nigel Farage, the Reform Party, also the Conservative Party as well. And there's a number of them, and Conservatives sort of slightly all over the place on this issue, but there are people in those two parties that want to defund the BBC and they want to see it replaced with a Fox-style news channel. I think the BBC is a really important institution. It has made mistakes, but we need to safeguard its independence for the future.
Let's talk about your announcement today, because this is about VAT. You want a 5% cut in the budget to try and support the UK's hospitality industry. What's the idea?
So what's really frustrating at the moment is that the budget is in 2 weeks' time, and all we hear from the Chancellor is sort of rumours and hints that she's going to put up taxes, the very taxes she said that she would not put up. What we are saying instead is, why not raise a levy, a big windfall tax on the big banks? That would raise £30 billion. You could use just less than half of that to do two things. First of all, to drastically reduce people's energy bills in the first instance. And secondly, to give this VAT cut to hospitality so that we can save our high streets. At the moment, you will have seen business leaders and hospitality owners saying that their businesses are on the edge. Their business rates bills have gone up, the jobs tax has gone up. If we get that VAT cut on hospitality, it'll be good for our high streets, put money back in people's pockets, and it will get growth going again.
Is it, tricky to talk about, levies on banks, though? These are kind of mobile businesses, you can do investments abroad. It has a distorting effect on, obviously, doesn't it?
So because of the way our quantitative easing programme works in the UK, we have a very peculiar system where taxpayers are effectively paying the big banks their profits. If the government does nothing, taxpayers will be giving £50 billion of taxpayers' money to the big banks over the next 5 years. We Liberal Democrats think that that is not fair. That is why we've suggested this windfall tax that is targeted, it's time limited, it wouldn't affect the risk that the banks would have to take. They've made no efforts to raise this money, they've taken no risk to raise this money. This windfall tax is fair and it would help us pay for things like getting energy bills down and saving our high streets.
You got your big speech to prepare for. We're going to be showing it on Ridge and Frost, so I'll let you go and get ready for that. Thank you very much indeed, Daisy Cooper, there for the Lib Dems.